first to Tiki Barber, to Sean Morass, to all the Giant fans in the audience. I can't hate. This is an unbelievable hire. This is the fish you wanted since the moment he got fired. So congratulations to Giant fans. John Harbaugh, the next head coach of the New York Giants.
Yeah, it's exciting. And it's the guy that the Giants wanted. Hell, it's the guy that I think all the available teams wanted. And so much credit belongs to the Maras, John, and Chris, who is acting in John's stead with his cancer treatments going on, and Joe Schoen. I know people want to crap on him so badly because of what they perceive as a job not well done. We did this exercise a month ago. I gave him a B+. Hasn't been great, hasn't been perfect, but it's been pretty damn good. And I know from not only him getting John Harbaugh, but hearing about some of his other interviews that led up to this, including with Raheem Morris and who else interviewed?
Mike McCarthy, Kevin
Stefanski. Didn't Vance Joseph have a virtual one?
Yes.
A lot of people around the league love what Joe Schoen is doing. Not necessarily from a fan standpoint, but from a procedural, what the scouting department looks like. But he landed this ship. He was tasked with a couple of things a few years ago. One was fixing the O-line. 2, finding a franchise quarterback. And now, specifically after this season, finding the next Giant head coach. And you got to give him credit, even if you don't want to.
Let me teach the Giant fan how to do it. Because you're consistently, and when we went over the resume of Joe Schoen, you gave him a much better grade than me. I gave him a D. But let me teach you how we can be honest, Giant fans. Honest with ourselves, honest with people we disagreed with. Joe Schoen failed from a win-loss standpoint. There was no debating that. But here's what Joe Schoen did where I will give him an immense amount of credit. He put together a good enough roster and drafted, even if it wasn't his first choice, he still did it. He drafted the quarterback that made it appealing enough for a Super Bowl winning head coach to say, I want that job. And so while I won't back down on our debate about his grades in terms of picking players and the win-loss record, where I have to be honest, and I hope all Giant fans will be honest, is that he did a good enough job, as much as it didn't translate into wins and losses, he did a good enough job to entice John Harbaugh to not only take the job, but say, I'm not even going to go do my interview with the Atlanta Falcons and the Tennessee Titans.
Isn't that what I told you yesterday?
It is.
That was the only way to get him.
And you got him.
And you got him.
And you did enough to entice him. And like the Jaxson Dart thing, just real quick. I get that we all saw the video that was Brian Daboll's guy. Leadership is about listening. Leadership is about saying, I'm going to listen to all voices and make the best decision for the organization, even if it's not my first choice. So for anyone today who says, I don't give him credit for Jaxson Dart, that's not fair. What good leaders do is they say, all right, I'm going to trust my head coach. I'm going to trust my offensive guru. That's the guy I'm going to pick. And let's all be honest with ourselves. I have great respect for the history of the Giants. I'm sure John Harbaugh will talk about that next week at his press conference. I don't know if he takes this job without Jaxson Dart.
Yeah.
And that decision was ultimately made by the much maligned general manager.
No, you're right. And I think when it comes to coaching, when I look at some of the failures of this past season for the New York Giants, which ultimately got Brian Daboll fired and opened up this opening for John Harbaugh, so much of it is on coaching, right? It's decisions that were made in game. Preparation, whether that's defensively, the drop 8 that we all remember from that Dallas game. If you go watch the New England Patriots, they execute a drop 8 pretty damn perfectly and get a sack with a 3-man rush, right? There are ways to do these. The Giants weren't coached well enough, and it's what led to a lot of their failures throughout the season. But let's talk about coaching. We know this, right? In football, coaching is paramount.
Yeah.
It's not like baseball where it's like, hey, you know what, guys? Just make sure you hit the ball, right? Or field it correctly. What can a manager do in a baseball game? Seriously.
Don't get me started. Nothing.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean.
Very little.
Like,
I agree.
They're not managing it.
I agree.
Play to play.
Ned Yost won a World Series. I'll leave it at that.
Right. Basketball is the same. Is somewhat of the same way. In football, it matters who your coaches are. It matters what's going into the head quarterback or the middle linebacker, whoever the green dot is, going into their head. It matters. And so the Giants finally, after 4 failed cycles, have gotten the right head coach. And the reason this is exciting to me to think about, because when I go back and I look at all of the other 4 Giant head coaching openings. 16, 18, 20, and 22.
Jeez.
Like when you go,
what a cycle.
I have to ask myself, I did this morning, well, who did the Giants miss on? Who did they not get? Right? And there's a point to this. So let's go back to 2022. Mike McDaniel with the Miami Dolphins. Kevin O'Connell, he's a miss, but he was an offensive coordinator, so we wouldn't have known.
Right.
He could have come here and failed or been, we don't know. Doug Peterson.
Fired.
Yep. Josh McDaniels.
Fired.
Matt Eberflus.
Fired.
Lovie Smith.
Fired.
Dennis Allen.
Fired.
Nathaniel Hackett.
Fired.
All right, so did we miss on anybody?
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, the Kevin O'Connell one is the miss, but it's like
but
you
didn't
said,
know.
he's a first-timer.
It was just like taking Dave's.
Yeah.
And guess what? In 2022, we would have said Dave's was better.
Right.
He won Coach of the Year. Kevin O'Connell didn't win Coach of the Year. And, in fact, he beat Kevin O'Connell in a playoff game. So go back to 2020. Mike McCarthy. Maybe that's the miss.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the one.
Well, I think he would have given you that consistency, but ultimately he may have ended up the same way where you didn't win enough and then he's gone.
Right. Ron Rivera failed, fired. Kevin Stefanski, he was a coordinator. We didn't know. He won Coach of the Year too, but Dave's won it first, right? So Matt Rule, no. Joe Judge, fired. That was ours, obviously. 2018. Let's go to 2018. In 2018, who are the coaches hired? John Gruden, Matt Patricia, Frank Reich, Mike Vrabel, again, coordinator. Nobody had any idea.
Right.
We missed on him, but, I mean, a lot of people didn't know that Mike Vrabel was going to be a great head coach for the Tennessee Titans. Matt Nagy, fired. Steve Wilkes, and we hired Pat Shurmur. 2016, this was right after Coughlin was fired. We all know this one. For us, it was Ben McAdoo. But the other coaches that were hired, Hugh Jackson, Adam Gase, Doug Peterson, he was an OC. He ended up winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that worked.
But he was an OC, so nobody knew. It was just still a project. Chip Kelly and Dirk Cutter.
Wow.
Mike Mularkey was promoted internally with the Tennessee Titans. So out of those last 4 hiring cycles, who did the Giants miss on that they should have?
Yeah, probably just Mike McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy.
Or a first-timer that had success.
Right, or Vrabel or O'Connell, or whoever it may be. But this cycle, there was one coach that everybody wanted, and it was John Harbaugh. And who got him?
The New York freaking Giants.
Exactly.
They got him.
If you want to talk about the failures of the past coaching cycles for the New York Giants, it's real. I mean, we all saw it.
Oh, yeah.
But I think they were also backed into a corner of, well, there isn't a Tom Coughlin to hire. There isn't a John Harbaugh to hire. There isn't like this elite, dominant, we know that he's going to be great head coach to hire. So they ended up taking shots on guys who they hoped would evolve into good head coaches. It's not the Giants' fault. I mean, maybe in some capacity it is that Ben McAdoo and Pat Shurmur and Joe Judge and ultimately Dave's didn't evolve into a great head coach. So when you have a chance to get a great head coach and you get him, you deserve credit.
It is their fault, but the success rate of first-time head coaches who are promoted from being coordinators,
Not
the
high.
success rate is very low.
Right.
Now, you hope you hit, but the odds aren't high. You know, for every Bill Parcells, there's Ben McAdoo and Pat Shurmur, who obviously got a second opportunity. What it also shows you is that the Giants were very fortunate that this cycle features a guy like John Harbaugh.
Yes.
Because most cycles
Yes.
don't feature a proven commodity like this.
Right.
Most cycles are about, I'll take this first-time coach or this failed coach and hope it works the second time around. A gift from the gods was handed to them a week ago by Steve Biscotti, but just because you're given a gift doesn't mean you take it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're given a gift doesn't mean you seal it. And there was every possibility over the last week that they weren't going to be able to seal the deal, and they did. And this is a great hire. And I know it's a great hire, and I know you're in good hands because of the feeling in my stomach right now. I'm being dead honest with you. The feeling in my stomach, and I haven't had this feeling about the Giants in a very long time, is I'm going to call it like it is, which is this is a slam dunk hire, and you got an excellent chance to be a playoff team next year. No doubt. And I'm curious if there's any Giant fan out there who's not ecstatic about the hire. If you are, I'd love to hear the other perspective. But the pit in my stomach is that you're really good, and you're going to own this freaking town for the next decade, and my team sucks. It's that pit of jealousy. And we all have it in this town. Like, we all have it about the other team when you know the other team, even if you don't dislike them, is in a really good place. You all have it. You just may not admit it. I have it today. And honestly, I haven't had it in a very long time, with all due respect. Like, maybe I haven't had it since 2011.
I mean, we've been the same, Evan, save for a 2022 playoff run.
I agree, because even in those offset playoff runs, like the Ben McAdoo year in 2022, you kind of knew, like...
Right. He was fired the next year.
Right.
2016.
Right. 2016.
Right.
It felt fleeting. It didn't feel like a threat. I think I speak for every Jet fan when I tell you, this is a threat. I mean, the Giants are, I hate to say, they're back. I always hate that phrase.
Yeah, they're not. They still have a lot. They have work to do before they're back.
They have a ton of work to do, but Tiki...
But you've got a competent head coach, a leader who you know is going to do it the right way.
They have a competent head coach. They have a Super Bowl winning head coach. They have a consistent winner. And while the jury still remains sort of out on Jaxson Dart, it feels like they have a franchise quarterback. And it feels like they're on their way to not only being good, but being a contender at some point. And on the other side of things, the other football team feels as hopeless as they've ever felt, which we'll get into later. But that pit in the stomach that I'm describing is a good thing. It shows you that genuinely you are in such a good place that I'm really jealous. And so, Sean, congratulations.
Thank you, Evan. What a day to be a New York Giant fan. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you, John Mara. Thank you, Steve Tisch. Thank you, Chris Mara, who went out there, brought that Panera bread and figured that out, what John Harbaugh wanted. Thank you for that private plane. The Giants, all we heard as fans, we didn't want to believe, was that they were the number one destination. And a lot of us looked and said, all right, we believe in Jaxson Dart, but is this just the Giant propaganda? And they were, because they got the guy. And my pit of the stomach feels like, and I get it, I'm allowed to be in my blasphemy, like positive stuff. This feels like Andy Reid leaving Philadelphia and taking that job in Kansas City, where you just knew. You knew. Now, I didn't know he was going to win Super Bowls, and Mahomes had a big part of this, but you just knew they were getting the culture right.
No, you're right.
And they were going to be in great hands.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of coach this is. Tiki brought up all those cycles. It even goes beyond that. Forget the Mike McCarthy's of the world. This specific type of head coach doesn't become available. It is a unicorn type of scenario once every how many years. This is unbelievable if the Giants became a destination. And to give Joe Schoen more credit, look, a lot of people knocked on the door and said, draft J.J. McCarthy, draft Michael Penix. His patience in not doing that year, and then his patience in taking Abdul Carter 3 overall and playing the board right and trading up for Jaxson Dart at the exact right moment is the exact reason we are here today. Because I don't believe John Harbaugh takes this job when looking at the other jobs if he doesn't believe they have the quarterback advantage.
Right.
It's a coach-quarterback league, and all paths led to Jaxson Dart and Harbaugh pairing up. That's unbelievable.
That's right. It's why he didn't even – well, maybe just the Giants just made an offer, as I said yesterday, that he can't refuse. That is, whatever you need to be paid, whatever you need from your staff, we're going to get the – whatever you need, we're going to make happen. But when you look at the comparison, Michael Penix in Atlanta versus Jaxson Dart – or Cam Ward in Tennessee versus Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart has the edge. There's no doubt about it. His success as a rookie, it proves that he could be, not he is, but he could be a great quarterback in this league.
Cam Ward would make it close, and maybe it is close, but I think where the Giants have the edge is maybe the rest of the roster, which I think is a big factor.
No doubt.
Even if you looked at Dart and Ward and you're John Harbaugh and you said, I could win with both, the tiebreaker may have been the Giants side. See, the thing about your Andy Reid comparison that is going to be lost in this is people think of the dynasty, and so they think that Sean Morash claims the Giants are about to be a dynasty.
Not what I'm saying.
Which I'm sure he'll say at some point today.
Yeah, I mean, I might get to tomorrow.
How about they win a championship first before we start talking dynasty?
No, I know. But that's where people will get lost on an Andy Reid comp. The Andy Reid comp is actually really, really good because Andy Reid left Philadelphia with Eagle fans saying, yeah, we had success, but we haven't had enough success. Mm-hmm. And his winning percentage in Philadelphia was .583, really good. John Harbaugh's winning percentage in Baltimore was .609, slightly better. John Harbaugh in the postseason was 13-11. Andy Reid is 10-9. Like, it is actually really, really similar with John clearly having the edge on winning a championship. But it was about what he was going to do at his next stop. And what obviously Andy Reid's done in Kansas City is freaking ridiculous. Right. I don't know if John's going to do that. That's where I think people get lost in the comp. But as far as where Reid was upon leaving Philadelphia and where John Harbaugh is upon leaving Baltimore, I think the comparison is totally fine.
Right.
Like in terms of what they accomplished in the place they were in and why fans in that city were ready to move on. Like, fans in Baltimore were ready to move on because, yeah, they underachieved the last few years. Steve Bisciotti even said it. They didn't win enough. That doesn't mean that coming here with a fresh opportunity can't lead to great success. But Yeah, it kind of got old in Baltimore like it got old in Philly for Andy Reid. But what's old for them is new for us.
Hell yeah, brother.
And what's new for us is playoff football. What's new for us is bitching about we didn't go far enough. I get that bitching in Baltimore.
Right.
I get it in Pittsburgh. We don't have that in New York, and now we at least have a chance to do that. And so this is a home run. And so I ask the Giant fan, I ask you two questions, one of which you can't answer, both of you, because you're excited about this. Number one, who's against this? Like, on Sports Talk Radio, there's always people that have weird, dumb opinions.
Ravens fans who are sour on John Harbaugh.
Which I understand.
Of course, because he didn't win them a championship with Lamar Jackson. He had 2-time MVP. Should
I get
have been
that.
3 because he should have won it last year. But you know what I mean? He's had this MVP quarterback who's been fantastic, and you have a pretty good roster, yet you can't get to, for much less win a Super Bowl.
And
with
you know
him.
what? You're about to find out, Raven fans, what it's like in a post-Harbaugh world. I'm curious if there's any Giant fans who aren't ecstatic today. And then the other thing, and this really is for Sean, Tiki, you'll like this. Do you feel compelled, because you have been very tough on Joe Schoen, and you've been very tough on ownership. And by the way, rightfully so, not criticizing you for your criticisms. Do you look at today as a day where you should apologize, where you should say to Joe Schoen and John Mara and Chris Mara, who I told you the other day has taken a ton of arrows over the last few years, even though no one really knows much about him, are you feeling enough today, and all the Giant fans out there, to offer a, hey, my bad, I'm sorry?
Well, I thought I sort of did that for ownership just a little while ago.
I didn't hear a full I'm sorry. Did you
Listen,
hear a full I'm sorry?
No, I did not.
All right. I am sorry to anybody in the Mara, Tish, and beyond that family where my criticism came in, and I had my doubts whether this was still the right operation to be run. You cared just as much, if not more, for the fans and showed it in a big way with showing out. Now, as far as Joe Schoen goes, I'm giving him credit in setting this up. But I'm going to withhold my complete flowers for Joe Schoen until I see another offseason evolve, and I want to see what's going on. But I will say this. To any Giant fan that does have – I'm less concerned about Joe Schoen than some other Giant fans where I think some of that may come in. How could you be as concerned about Joe Schoen today if this guy took the job? If he took the job, it tells you he doesn't feel like he's going to get stepped on by Joe Schoen in this whole offseason process. And dare I say, if you're worried about Joe Schoen in the offseason and free agency, you know what else John Harbaugh plants a flag of? I'm here, come here, you want to play here, this is a legitimate program. So any fear I have about Joe Schoen building a roster gets nullified today because I think John Harbaugh, whether that means literally overriding a Joe Schoen decision or at least helping the cause of bringing somebody in. So again, I'm not fully over some of the Joe Schoen mistakes, but I am less concerned than ever that he is going to be an issue with building this roster going forward.